So Aaron Derfel, you may know, is an investigative reporter at the Montreal Gazette, been on the health file for quite some time, and back again with a story on something else in the health sector in this province that kind of makes you sit back and shake your head and wondering, how is it we can't get this stuff right? Right? Santé Quebec supposed to take control, change things, and we find out really not very much has changed at all. In fact, things, if depending on who you believe, actually seem to be getting worse. Now, in this particular case, it's the rollout of Quebec's digital health record, which Aaron is on the line. Aaron, am I right? This has already been delayed a couple of years, and how far down the hole are we in terms of how much this has already cost?
Yes, so Aaron, it's gone over budget by about $135 million, and it recalls the SAC Click fiasco, which blew its budget by $500 million. And these are just two pilot projects. So we're talking about the north end of Montreal and then in the Mauricie center of Quebec. When it's rolled out across the entire province, the costs could go up exponentially. So it is a serious issue.
Yeah, the issue today, I read the headline, which is now that the health minister, Sonia Bélanger, says, well, you know what, it's supposed to be rolled out by May 9th, but she now says she'll have the veto power to put that off, which means, at least to me, and tell me what you think, that this is certainly not going to happen May 9th.
I think she was giving herself the option because this is such a politically volatile dossier, and the big issue that's grabbing headlines right now in Quebec is concerns about the erosion of digital sovereignty. What does this mean? It's Epic Systems, an American company based in Wisconsin, that will have access to this data, and under American legislation, if they wanted, they could theoretically access private information of individuals. That's the concern, at least in theory.
Okay. Now, the other concern, and I know this because we've spoken to doctors on the show who had a chance to look at this thing, is suggesting, you know what, it doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. You had a story in the Jewish General Hospital developing its own system for a fraction of what this is going to cost. How do we keep doing this so badly, Aaron?
I think that this is perhaps an inherent problem with Santé Quebec. It's top-down, it centralizes. At the Jewish General, they're doing it from the bottom up. And they've got a lot of community buy-in. And they've purchased these vital signs monitors that can upload the information into the system. In contrast with the DSN, the Santé Quebec project, they're only going to have those vital signs monitors in the ICUs. So nurses are still going to be using paper, even in the midst of this digital health record rollout, which just defies logic and just is the height of absurdity, in my opinion. So
what happens here? You have a rollout. I read as well, and I'm not sure if they kind of talked about this an awful lot, but if this is going to be implemented, say, by May 9th, right? The initial rollout...
It's going to start on May 9th.
Right.
Yeah.
So the initial rollout would actually kind of, from what I read here, at least at Sacré-Cœur, it would actually force them to do less work because they have to sort of, I guess, adapt into the system?
Yes, fewer operations.
What?
And fewer beds. It kind of recalls what happened during the pandemic, délestage, ramping down the clinical activities to make sure that there are as few glitches as possible. But that raises the question, is it a smart move to do this because we already have a huge backlog of operations? It just seems to me, again, that they might not know what they're doing. You mentioned Sonia Bélanger talking about possibly vetoing this. Now, the latest news is Santé Quebec is open to hearing from elected officials. And this afternoon, I attended a technical briefing with journalists. They're trying to clearly they're going on the charm offensive. They want to get buy-in from the public. But you know what it's like when you get a new computer set up, right, at home or an app. There are all kinds of glitches, right, especially if you've got a smart home. And now you're trying to apply this to the healthcare system, right, with hundreds of thousands of medical files. It's incredibly complex. It's perhaps the most complex thing out there, and we're relying on the expertise of this company in the U.S. In Alberta, where they've deployed this, it took them like 6 years to figure it out. it takes a long time to get it right.
I'm wondering, though, with this case of this company in Wisconsin, you mentioned security issues and the fact that they're an American company, will be storing these records. Why didn't we do this with a Canadian company? Is that information or that technology simply not available here from what you understand?
Okay, so that's a very good question. There was a Quebec initiative called Crystal Net, not Crystal Meth, but that floundered, and the EPIC systems have just been around for the longest time. But, the experience at the Jewish General shows that it can be done if you get a lot of buy-in. And in this particular case at the Jewish General, that there's a $100 million capital campaign, or rather fundraising campaign by the foundation, and includes other initiatives. And the president of Shopify, he read my article in the Gazette. Yeah. And is donating $500,000 for that. It's sort of like a tale of two systems. One that seems to be working and is winning plaudits, and the other that's turned into a PR disaster managed by Santé Quebec.
So I have to wrap up it, Aaron. I mean, if you had to sort of speculate, how is this going to play out? Are you hopeful? I mean, because Santé Quebec is not providing us with a lot of hope here that they can roll this thing out very well. Certainly not in the time frame they've set up.
I think it's going to be, they're going to clearly have glitches, because if you go by the experience in Alberta, there will be problems initially, and there's going to be a lot of media focus on it. But in an X number of years down the road, people will get used to it. But it's going to take a while before that happens.
But just as a last question, I mentioned I thought we've spoken to doctors, saying if this is not ready, it's not ready for prime time. Does the government listen to these people?
That's the problem with Santé Quebec. That's the main criticism about this, Crown or state corporation from the very beginning, that it doesn't listen, it over-centralizes, and local hospitals have very little autonomy. The Jewish General is able to do what it wants to do because no taxpayer money is funding it, and it's almost like an escape valve, right? They want to see how it works at the Jewish General. Maybe they could learn from the experience there.
Yeah. Not very hopeful, is it? Aaron Derfel, Montreal Gazette health reporter. Aaron, thanks so much. I appreciate the time.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Bryan Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.